So AI can now create art, it can invent life-saving drugs, it can even drive cars. But this raises some huge questions, right? Like, who's in charge when things go wrong? And who gets the credit and the cash when things go right? We're about to dive into a legal puzzle that used to be pure science fiction, but is now becoming very, very real.
It really starts with a simple, practical problem. See, AI isn't just a fancy calculator anymore. It's a creator. It's writing news articles, it's designing all sorts of new inventions. But let's say an AI creates the next blockbuster cancer drug. Who gets that patent? The AI itself? The person who programmed it? The company that owns the servers? This is exactly where the law starts to get fuzzy.
And to even begin to untangle that, we need to get our heads around a core legal idea: legal personality. Now, all this means is the status that allows something or someone to own property, to sign a contract, or even to sue and be sued. It's basically the law's way of saying, you're a player in this game.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dig into the AI personhood problem itself. Then we're going to look at two totally different solutions people have proposed. And finally, we'll see where things stand today.
Okay, so the heart of the problem is this. The more autonomous AI gets, the bigger the accountability gaps become. You know, if a self-driving car network causes a massive pileup or an AI trading algorithm tanks the stock market, who do you sue? The developer, the owner, or maybe the AI itself?
And look, this isn't just some coffee shop debate for philosophers. Lawmakers are already on this. Way back in 2017, the European Parliament actually floated the idea of creating a whole new legal status for the most sophisticated AIs. They called them electronic persons, specifically to make them legally responsible for the damage they cause. Which brings us to the first big proposed solution. And it's a really pragmatic one. What if we just treated advanced AI? Well, what if we treated it like a business? There's this great quote from an 18th century Lord Chancellor who said, "A corporation has no soul to be damned and no body to be kicked." And that just perfectly captures this idea of a juridical person. It's not alive, it's a legal fiction, a tool we invented for convenience to get things done.
Because in the eyes of the law, there are basically two flavors of person. You've got natural persons, that's you and me, humans, we get rights just by being born. And then you have juridical persons, like corporations. They are granted certain rights, not because they have feelings, but because it's just plain useful for our economy and society.
So following that logic, you can see where this is going. We could create a new category of electronic person based on the corporate model. It could own property, it could be sued, it could sign contracts. The point wouldn't be to say the AI is alive, but simply to create a legal bucket to pour liability into and close those accountability gaps. But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive potential downside here. This could create a giant incentive for developers and companies to just shove all their risk and liability onto the AI. It could become this perfect legal shield that lets the actual humans who made and deployed the AI completely off the hook.
Okay, but what if the whole argument about legal convenience is asking the wrong question? What if it's really about what AI is, or what it could one day become? This takes us to a totally different way of thinking, the inherent argument for AI rights.
I mean, history shows this long, often painful story of us expanding who we consider a person with rights. For centuries, many societies treated slaves as property, not people. Women were denied the full rights of personhood. And more recently, you've got activists arguing in court that chimpanzees, because of their intelligence and emotional lives, aren't just things. That circle of who counts just keeps getting wider.
We have to be really careful, though, of a mental trap that researchers call the android fallacy. This is our powerful built-in human tendency to see human-like consciousness and feelings in things that just look or sound human, no matter what's actually going on inside the machine.
And this kind of stuff is already playing out. Remember the famous monkey selfie case? A crested macaque in Indonesia grabbed a photographer's camera and snapped a selfie. An animal rights group sued, claiming the monkey, Naruto, owned the copyright. But the courts ultimately said no. An animal can't be an author under current copyright law.
Well, we've seen the exact same story play out with AI. An inventor tried to file patents for things created entirely by his AI system, which he named Dabus. But patent offices in the UK, the EU, and the US all shut it down for the same basic reason. Right now, the law says an inventor has to be a human being. The reasoning from the European Patent Office was, well, it was stark and incredibly clear. From their point of view, AI systems aren't creators who can hold rights. They are tools. As the office put it,
Rather than being employed, they are owned.
So after all that, where do we actually land? Well, for today at least, legal experts and academics have reached a pretty clear, even if it's temporary, verdict.
The general consensus right now is that granting AI legal personality is probably a solution in search of a problem. The arguments against it are pretty strong. First, AI isn't one thing, it's a spectrum. So where would you even draw the line between a smart toaster and a person? Second, we have to avoid that android fallacy trap. And maybe most importantly, we already have laws to hold the humans, the people who make, own, and use the AI, responsible.
But, and this is the big one, all of this debate is about the AI we have now. It completely ignores the giant question mark hanging over our future. What happens when we finally create an intelligence that is genuinely, truly smarter than us?
To even think about that, it helps to go all the way back to the beginning of this whole story, to Alan Turing. This guy was a brilliant mathematician, a war hero who helped crack the Enigma code. But he also laid the theoretical groundwork for pretty much everything we call artificial intelligence today.
But Turing's story is also it's a profound tragedy. Legally, he was a natural person, a human being with full rights, but the law utterly failed to protect him. He wasn't judged on his incredible mind, he was persecuted for being gay, forced into chemical castration, and he died just 2 years later. His story is this powerful, painful reminder that our legal definitions of who counts have often been tragically, horribly wrong.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? This whole debate over AI personhood isn't just about code and microchips. It's a mirror. It reflects our own messy, complicated, evolving understanding of what it means to be a person and who we decide deserves a place inside our moral and legal circle.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. Alan Turing's life shows us that we humans have a long and sorry history of failing to recognize the personhood of other humans. So maybe the ultimate test isn't whether a machine can learn to think like us, but whether we can finally learn to be humane to a new and different kind of mind.